Welcome back to the MetaMinds podcast, where we help you master your mindset. My name's Dan. I'm a fully qualified counsellor.
And my name's Eamon, and I'm a video strategist.
And on today's episode, we had Jacinta Robinson join us. She has a really fascinating story. We learned a lot about her ups and downs throughout her fitness journey. We learned about her, starting this whole charity thing by going up and down a mountain multiple times. It was like a 12-hour expedition that she had to train for. She's competed in competitions, and previously she was a hairdresser. So to kind of see that transition and her mindset mold throughout all of those years was really fascinating.
It's definitely a value-packed podcast, and unfortunately we chatted for about an hour after the podcast, and there was so much more value in that. But what I would say is, if you're interested in her story, and I'm sure you will be because it's quite relatable. There's, as you said, so many ups and downs in her story, and how she kind of came out of that on the other side. She has a lot on her socials, and we'll link those below. Like, definitely dive deeper into her story because we didn't even cover the half of it. So be sure to check her out and follow her. She's doing a lot of amazing things. But yeah, we'll jump straight into the podcast.
Thank you so much for joining us, Jacinta. We were originally going to do a Zoom call, but it was obviously decided that we'd do it in person, which is a lot more exciting. We had a great chat before, and when we had the call before as well, like you gave me a really good gist of kind of your journey so far. So to give people out there a bit of context, would you be able to tell us a little bit about your journey up until this point?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on the podcast. Well, we can go for a long time, or we can be really quick on my journey. So I started in the hairdressing world when I come out of school. I actually quit school because I wasn't academic. A lot of people would say now it's dyslexic when you look back, but at that time I was just, that's not for me. I didn't thrive in that area. So I just kind of ignored that and went straight into the fitness and was like really sporty. And then there was one day I wasn't feeling comfortable about myself, and I looked at this magazine and I was like, man, this girl's so pretty. I'll never look like this. And my mum was like, you look like that now. And I was like, looking in the mirror, I was like, no, I don't. Like, I feel fat. I'm not skinny and lean. Anyway, so long story short, went on a diet, and then my mum got a photo shoot, and I walked out of there and I was like, I am stunning. I felt so hot. And then I realized that weight loss and getting your hair done had a big impact on the way that you felt about yourself and gives you confidence to go out into the world. And so from there, I was like, I want to have that impact on people. I want to be able to give that to other people. So how do I do that? Well, let's go into the hairdressing industry. And so that's where the hair world started. But the crazy thing is that when you go all in, I guess with any job, you get so focused on that sometimes you forget about your health and you overwork because you want to give to people. You want to help them so much. And for me, I became addicted to Diet Coke, cookie dough, and chips. They were my favorite things.
They were your three, hey? Your vice.
Yeah. Like, I shit you not, I'd get like a whole cookie dough log and I would like chop it up and I'd be like, okay, just a little bit. Because I was still conscious of myself.
Yeah.
Like from previous years. And then I was like, just a little bit. Oh, a little bit more. Oh no, I'm going to be here for another 4 hours. And then anyway, so what happened is I got a little bit bigger, and then I went on this journey of trying all different diets. So I tried a shake diet, I tried keto diet, I tried crazy different things, but still was addicted to chips, cookie dough, and Diet Coke. So that was really interesting for me because the higher that I went in the hairdressing world, the more that my health was affected. So I end up managing the salon and looking after like the company's stock and also managing other salons. And my health, it just was put on the back burn, even though I was exercising. So I felt like, okay, to compensate, I'd go out and I'd go smash myself because I felt like, that will counterbalance all the crap food that I've had during the week. And needless to say, now I look back and I think, oh my God, that's ridiculous. That was not helping me in any way. But we've got to go through these things to understand where we're at. Anyway, so I was like, within hairdressing, I ended up training clients because I loved the fitness side. So I'd do their hair and I'd be like, oh, you want to come over and we'll do a session together?
Same afternoon.
Yeah.
Everyone can be like, your hair looks really good.
Yeah.
Get that done.
So we were like, it was become a fun thing, but I still hadn't learned the basic knowledge of health. Or maybe it was just I didn't want to admit it to myself. So I knew that if I was to get out of that cycle, I had to empower myself with knowledge. So I decided to move from the small country town, Bundaberg, and then go to Brisbane, the big smoke, which was really scary at the time because I was like, oh my God, like there's so many people and what are they all going to think of me? And so anyway, I did hairdressing in Brisbane and I studied fitness. And crazy enough, the more that I learned about it, the more you thrive in it and you want to become more of that. You want to live what you're learning, right? And then, so I was playing around with food and I ended up doing a little bit too much and I got a little bit of chronic fatigue is what it's called. I was exercising way too much and not feeding myself a lot of nutrients for the body. Because you would experience it yourself. Like when you're lacking something, you're either tired or you just don't feel energized. You feel lethargic or you're getting headaches. And anyway, so I got chronic fatigue. So I'm like, oh man, I think that I know it all, but I don't. So I'm like, okay, what about, and I still wasn't happy within myself. Like I was fit, but I looked at myself and I wasn't like, oh, I'm not lean. Like I want to give myself a challenge. And so I was like, all right, let's do a body competition. And I didn't want to do the body competition that you're like, oh, yeah, on the stage. I'm a girl. Like, come on, what girl? Well, maybe some girls might like that. But for me, I wanted to feel really elegant and feel feminine. And there's this competition called WBFF. And it's all about glamour and it's about feeling really sexy. And they tell you, like, you got to walk out on the stage and be pretty much seducing the audience. And it can be a bit overwhelming if you've never done that before. And for me, I was like, oh yeah, I own it. Like this is fine. Anyway, and then so I hired a coach and they helped me, and that taught me a lot about what I was previously eating was sugar and fats with a tiny bit of carbs and a tiny bit of protein. And that set me on my journey of learning about what the body actually needs. And I did that as a vegetarian. I tried meat for about a month and I couldn't do it. It just wasn't for me. So we did, vegetarian, which was really cool. And I had, if you ever do a bodybuilding comp, I don't know if you're aware, but when you reduce your calories, you become emotional.
Yeah.
So it's quite crazy because you're feeling all these emotions and you don't know why you're doing. You reflect on your life, and it can be really interesting to try and keep a neutral reason for why you're doing it. Anyway, so you get leaner. Anyway, and then the comp day comes, and then if you don't keep your coach till after the comp day, you don't learn about reverse dieting. And do you guys know about reverse dieting?
No.
Okay, so when you do like a bodybuilding comp, you obviously you build muscle for so long, and then you reduce down your calories to get as lean as possible, so your muscles are popping. Prior to the comp, you'll do like the week before, you'll do like a water load, and then you'll cut your water. So therefore, you look a little bit dehydrated, but you just look like really good shape. And then after the comp, because your body has been in starvation because you're really minimal calories, after the comp, you are so hungry, you just want to eat everything.
So cookie dough?
Cookie dough.
Well, I had bypassed that. But I was like pasta, and because you're not used to having these carbs, you're used to having like protein, and
it's just what your body's craving.
And so you have this, and then you don't want to stop because once you've had it, you're like, this is pretty good. And so, so for a week, I didn't really, I just was binge eating pretty much because I hadn't learned that going from so strict, what would happen. And then I put on a little bit of weight. And of course, that wouldn't make me feel happy because I wasn't as fat as when I first started. But because when you're in comp mode, you're like, oh my God, I look so lean. So now you're addicted to looking that lean all the time. So that when after you're like, oh my God, I want to be back to that. And I started to learn and talk myself, like I can see how people get lost in this world of doing comp after comp after comp. Obviously, some people have goals with it, but some girls just go do it and then they feel really, they call it post-comp depression. And it's because you feel like you can never look as good as what you used to. And during those times that you are lean, everyone's like, oh my God, you look so amazing. Wow, look at you. And then after you're like, man, I'm fat. Like I'm not that anymore. Anyway, so that was really, really intense to try and reprogram the mind because you're so used to looking lean, hearing all of this, and now all of a sudden you don't have this attention. You are a little bit bigger. What's going on? So I'm like, okay, this is not cool. I need to find balance within myself. So being in the fitness industry, I knew that there had to be a way. Like there's other people out there that are not going crazy into comps and eating, like next to no calories. Like there has to be something that you can balance out. And so I started thinking, okay, well maybe while I'm educating myself on nutrition, I'll learn about endurance. I've never done endurance before. I've always been like CrossFit or gym So then I set this challenge to run up this mountain here in Brisbane called Flinders Peak. Have you guys been up there?
No.
Oh, okay. It's really awesome. So the cool thing about this mountain is there's all terrains, and anyone that's done it will understand you have some flat ground, you have some like steep ground, you have some rock climbing, and it's really, really fun. Anyway, so I wanted to run up and down this mountain for 12 hours. And I knew that there would have to be a difference to my nutrition because endurance training is completely different to training in the gym. You have to feed yourself different. So anyway, when I went to do this competition, I obviously trained prior to this and I had injuries leading into this comp, like, I don't know, twisting my ankle running down, which was really, really not so good, but I was determined I wanted to do it because I was fundraising for the Starlight Foundation. And so I wanted to run up and down for 12 hours. So when the day came, I had fundraised $10,000, which I was like, wow, like it's so awesome to have such support and people believe in me, which gave me belief in myself that I could do it, and the knowledge that I had would help me, go up and down. Yeah. So I did that for 5 times, up and down, and it was raining and it was storming and it was crazy. But what I learned on that trip is that I was having most endurance runners, and what I'd been told by friends that are endurance runners, you need to have, when you're going for so long, you need to fill your body with sugar, instant sugar. And I had Coke and coconut water, and it gave me headaches and I felt so sick from it. And I had got off the Diet Coke and everything for probably, I reckon, about 3 years now leading up to this point. So having this stuff, I was like, I feel really weird. Like, and I'm having sugar, like lollies and that to give me like, that instant sugar to give me the energy. And I felt, it just didn't feel right. Anyway, so I did it. I achieved it. It was really cool. And then after that, I was like, this is interesting. I've gone from one extreme to the other, learning about different things, bodybuilding comp, I've done CrossFit in the past, to now doing endurance running. And the people that I'd learnt from had great tips, but it wasn't enough to teach me about to maintain your health throughout, because they were all using artificial products that would give you energy, but what is it doing for your body? Now, I just started my journey of being a vegan. So I had been vegan in the past, but I didn't have as much knowledge as I did now. And that started me on the journey of learning more and more and more about how nutrition affects your body and how it makes you think. Like they say, your gut's like your second brain. And I actually feel like it's pretty much the first thing. Like your gut will determine how your mood is. It will determine how you act, what you attract in your life by what you feed it. And that is the journey that I'm on now. Is I'm in this world of teaching and empowering other people. I don't believe in some quick fix because I've done it previously with all different stuff, and that never worked. It was never sustainable for me. So now I feel like, now being vegan, I think it's 2 years now total, I've found out that healthy balance, that it is great to have nutritious food like whole foods. They give you vitamins and minerals, and your eyes feel better, your skin glows, you can perform more, and you just have more energy and you feel good. So that's what,
Nice. That's
where I
really-
am today.
Yeah, wow. So a 12-hour hike as such, up and
Yeah.
down. How did you prepare yourself for that? How do you prepare your body for 12 hours of continuous?
Well, it's really interesting because I was like, well, I don't know at the start.
Yeah.
So from what I'd learned in the past is, okay, so if you want to do anything for endurance, you got to be kind of a little bit lighter. So I had to lose a little bit of body fat. I had to do the same movements. Like there was no point training going up a mountain and doing swimming and getting fit in swimming because I needed to get up a mountain.
Yeah.
So I did a bit of research and I started cycling a lot and doing it with a mountain bike. Because a mountain bike, if you felt the difference in the weight to another bike, like a road bike, a mountain bike's heavier. So you have to have strong legs. And when you run up a mountain, the surface isn't always even, and you got to be stepping up, and you need power in the legs, but you need to withstand that for a long period of time. So I was doing I think it was 40K rides once a week, lots of leg training, lots of, like when you have a box in the gym and I'd do step ups on one side, I'd flip it, and step ups on the other side, and everything was isolated for the legs. And it was really interesting because I would eat and my legs would grow and I'll be like, oh my God, no, I need to reduce my calories because they've got some beast there and that's not going to help me. So yeah, that's how I guess over time, the more that I researched, the more that I learned. But I just had this in the back of my mind, I need to train for this mountain. So I go there about once a week and I would run up and down. So if I was to do the mountain now, and I think I'm pretty fit, it'd take me about maybe an hour and 20 minutes. I was doing it in 47 minutes running up.
Wow.
Yeah, wow.
It was insane.
Yeah.
And so was it just you doing this? Like you mentioned you were doing it for Starlight. Like was there anyone else doing this for some sort of event, or you just decided that it was something that you wanted to tackle?
Yeah, well, I was really lucky because I have a great network around me that supported me. So I had clients come out and they would run up and down the mountain with me.
Oh, cool.
I had, on the day, it was so beautiful. My mum and dad, they came from Bundaberg and they went up there, and they're not someone I would say is conditioned to do that. And they had sore hips and they went all the way to the top. So I had a fantastic crew running with me up and down, and just my partner, she was constantly filling all, you kind of wear this vest that has it looks so funny because we used to call it titty water. So you have these bottles that sit there, but when they start getting empty, they flop down. So it doesn't look really attractive, but yeah.
It's practical.
Practical, yeah.
It worked really well. So I was, really fortunate that I had a crew there, and they were also making sure that I was eating, because you don't feel hungry when you're doing these things.
Your body goes into kind of survival mode. It's like eating is not something I can do right now.
Yeah, you're just I want to do it. I'm on this mission, and conditioned your mind so much. You're like, okay, I can do this in this time. So how far can I push it? And so while I was in that event, a lot of people were saying to me, slow down, come on, slow down and conserve your energy. You don't need to do 100 times. You're already there. You're already ready for it. You just need to, take the motions forward, which was kind of interesting because, if you're doing something, you're in a race, you get off the mark and you're boom, you want to go. But yeah, when it's a longer time, you're not going to have that energy.
Marathon, the sprint.
Yeah.
So there's so much to unpack there. So to kind of zoom out a little bit, kind of at the start of your journey when you're in that place when, you thought you weren't exactly where you wanted to be and you wanted to be someone else. First of all, can you give us kind of what was the inciting incident that really made you take the first action and go, no, I'm going to change, and set yourself that goal? And then secondly, for people out there that potentially are feeling in that position that they want to do something, but they maybe don't really know the steps to take, or, they don't really have that support network. Like, what is some of the things that they can put in place or change their environment maybe to start taking those steps?
Yeah. So you mean for the mountain when I...
Oh, no. So initially for, when you were eating all the cookie dough and that kind of thing, and decided that you wanted to change your lifestyle, like, what was the thing that really made you want to change? And then, like for other people out there that are kind of in that position as well.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing is be real with yourself. Like looking at yourself in the mirror and going, am I happy with this person? And you will know naturally if you're happy or not when you look at yourself. You'll go, okay, I love my teeth. I love my eyes. I don't love my hips. I don't love my legs. Okay, you know that there's some work that needs to be done. And I think that is the more that you can, rather than hide yourself in clothes and not look in the mirror, just accept this is where you're at. Once you accept that, you're like, okay, now I know where to start from. This is it. Take a photo. Okay, now just move forward. And the biggest thing I've learned over everything that I've done in my life, even just with reading a book, like that is challenging for me. I'd read the same freaking sentence 6 times, maybe more, like to understand it. I can't comprehend what's going on. So I think not being upset with yourself that you've got to this point, but recognize this is where you're at. Okay, I'm not perfect and I need to keep moving forward. And not be hard on yourself, like, oh, you be ashamed that you're at this point. Who cares about that? It's about how can I move forward and how can I go, okay, what is my goal? So let's just say with me originally feeling uncomfortable with myself, I had a goal of what I wanted to look like. I wanted to look like this chick in a magazine, right? So I'm like, okay, what is her life display? How is she that? Like, how does she do it? Like, is she fit? Like, obviously she is. Is she working out 2 times a week, 5 times a week? Like, what is she doing? What is she eating? Like, dissect what you want to become. What are the habits that they have? And then I started implementing. So for me with the cookie dough and the Diet Coke, and I needed to make small changes. So with the cookie dough, I actually can't remember exactly what I changed, but I just changed one thing. So instead of buying cookie dough, I bought, let's just say, a biscuit. And instead of having like a log, there may have been 4 biscuits. And then I would just have those 4. So I knew that I was having less calories in that. But it was still a swap and I still enjoyed it. And it was still going to help propel me forward in the direction. And then as time goes on, what happens is, like, let's say if I was to, because we all slip up, right? Everybody does. And if you don't, you're lying to yourself, really. I would go have some cookie dough and I'd be like so ashamed in myself. And I'd be like, no, actually, that was a good lesson. This is why I'm not eating that, because it actually doesn't taste that amazing. And then I would have the little bit and throw the rest out. So there was no way I was going to binge eat on the rest of it and just feel even more emotionally upset with myself. So I guess the biggest thing for me was seeing where I wanted to go, what were the habits that they did, and what were the small changes that I could implement in my life and keep it consistent over a period of time.
I think that just to hit on that last point is really, really important. And I feel like with myself, both Dan and I, we're pretty hard on ourselves, and we are, into self-development. We're always trying to be better. And it's so easy to slip up. We're only people, and your brain just like, I want this thing. And then you have the thing. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, I hate myself. Why did I do that? And I'm guilty of getting to this beat myself up kind of thing. But it's like every time you have to remind yourself that it's like, no, you are going to slip up. This is a part of the journey. The sooner you can recognize and accept and, love the fact that you've just done that and realize that it's bad for you, then the sooner you can be like, oh, that's cool. I won't do it now for an extended period of time. And the next time you slip up, you're like, that sucks, but it's okay because now I know,
That's it. And that's the human experience, really.
That's it, yeah.
And one thing that I got from that as well is I think it can be quite a slippery slope as well, because when you were saying you were almost comparing yourself to someone in a magazine, I think that kind of comes down to a bit of a societal problem as well, where we try to build ourselves up to this expectation of someone in a magazine or someone on TV, and a lot of people do it, like everyone's done it, and to really dissect that, like you said, could actually bring a bit more clarity around it. So if that person's job is to be a model, for example, they're getting paid to work out. They have dietitians involved, personal trainers, whatever it is. So if you're just this person who's a 16-year-old girl or guy who's trying to create this perspective that is unrealistic, maybe, I think that also can be a slippery slope as well. And you even mentioned, that after the competition, you had, people complimenting you quite regularly, like, you look great, you look fantastic. And then after that journey, you might not have got that as much, which in turn becomes like a societal problem, that people almost praise someone who's at their peak. But if someone's struggling, it's like, oh, well, I'm not going to make a comment about that. So like, that's kind of a tricky thing to I guess, navigate. And, from what you said, you've gone through different journeys of, like, I guess you'd label it not relapsing, but like you hit a peak and then you struggled for a bit and then you had to, you had something else that you tried to achieve. So what actually made you realize that it was actually like the accountability and having a goal that can help you like sustain this? And how are you sustaining, your fitness now, and how are you sustaining this mentality now moving forward as such?
I think to start with, it's about personal development. As you grow, you start to learn. I think I naturally was doing that. I like with the goal, like naturally did that. I have this tattoo on me that says dream, believe, achieve. And since a little girl, I've always dreamt of something. It's just really weird. I dream it, whether I subconsciously was thinking about it or I don't know how it happened, but I dreamt about it. And then I'd be like, okay, I believe that I can achieve that. And then I'd go and achieve it. So I think I just kept at that for my goals, knowing that no matter what, I can get there. I'm just need to find that avenue, how to do it. And I think the cool thing about like when I've peaked and then relapsed and then peaked and then relapsed, I think I look at it as a learning curve, right? So you're not perfect and you can't be at that peak, because if you were, then there's a next level for you and you're not evolving at all. And I think when you go up and down, you're realizing, okay, that's interesting. This makes me feel this way. And then this makes me feel this way. And it's all about personal growth. And I think for me personally, I just feel, it's just been a massive growth. Like, without me even really realizing, I just know that each time when I've got to a point, I, set another goal, and the goal will keep you on track. The more that you have something to strive for, the more you're working towards something. If you don't have a goal, what are you doing with your life? And you may find it might, just go behind you and you mightn't get anywhere with that. Like I see it a lot of times in the fitness industry, people set this, like, don't set a goal in fitness. They come in and they see me and they're just like, oh, I just want to be here. I'm like, okay, what do you want to achieve? And they're like, oh, I just come to the gym and I'll be fine. But they stay the same the whole year, 2 years, 5 years, where the people that are like, okay, I want to have this body, or I want to be able to do 5 pull-ups or push-ups, whatever it may be, they've wired their brain to just keep pushing a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more throughout the whole period of their training. So I think a goal keeps you focused. And I feel like probably that's why I've done that throughout my whole life, subconsciously, by dreaming about it and then going out and having that belief within myself. Yeah,
that's cool.
It sounds really like, and I love that it always kind of comes back to this point, because it's one of our favorite points to hit on it in MetaMinds, that it's really a mindset thing, and it comes down to, your mind is so powerful. And as you said, dream, believe, achieve. So it's like, if you can imagine this thing and have this vision, and you can believe that you can achieve it, which just comes down to, your environment and the different sources of input of information, then, you can find a way. And it reminds me of The Third Door by Alex Benayan. Like, there is a way to achieve anything that you want to achieve, and you are much more, you put these limits on yourself, but you can push through them, and it just comes down to what you actually believe in. So it's interesting that a lot of our guests kind of, that's a huge part of their journey in terms of like actually, pushing to that next level, basically.
And I think too, it's a perception of, like, let's say you're uncomfortable with yourself and you're looking at yourself. You can look at it and be like, your perception could be like, I'm a fat person, or I'm a person in this body right now and I can improve this. And I think no matter, like, or if you have something that you've come down and you've failed, as such, as what people would call it, you'd be like, okay, that's just, I'm learning from that. That's just another lesson of that if I take these habits and I do it this way, then I'll go this way. So how can I improve that? All right. Like, I think it's just the way that you look at it. And then the other thing that I want to say is what I feel has helped me so much along my journey is surrounding myself with the right people. I think you need to find people, up to you individually what you want to do. But I feel for me, what's worked is going, okay, this person's an endurance runner. What can I learn off them? This person is a vegan person. What can I learn off them? This person is empowered in their mind. I love the way that they talk. How do they always talk with so much clarity and talk so much about how good they are with the stuff in their life? Like, I want to be around those people because then I know that they've mastered that to some degree and I want to become that. And I feel that's helped me along the journey a lot.
Yeah, I really like that because that's actually kind of how I've taken my personal development journey. I kind of am very reflective and observant of people. So I kind of cherry pick either qualities that I like about them, or, they may say something that makes me feel a particular way, or they embody something that is, a particular style, which in turn I may like that. So I may cherry pick that and cherry pick someone else's. And I think that's really important, like you said, to have the right people around you to almost foster that growth. Because if you don't have that, then where are you going to pick it from? Maybe the internet, maybe the TV, and that probably isn't a realistic way to grow as a person.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that you say that.
And there's no point trying to learn it all yourself when there are people out there that have done it successfully. I think there's a part of everyone's ego, and again, I'm guilty of it myself. It's like, no, I'm going to learn it. I don't need anyone else's help, whatever. You just spend so much time on it. But it's like, no, if you just find the people who are crushing it, and then you can reverse engineer that a little bit, and it doesn't take too much. Just be like, what are they doing? And listen to a few of their podcasts and things like that. So
yeah, absolutely. And have the understanding that you're not going to be the same as them, and you're going to have your own struggles and your own things to go through. And I think once you get past all of that, when you start, you're on your journey working through all that, I think then the next step is the talk in your head. Like, I know that happens anyway throughout your whole time, but the more that you speak about yourself, like if I was to say, I can't do this, that's already reaffirming in my head that I can't do it. Mm-hmm. So I think something that's really been challenging, but an awesome experience for myself is saying these words and then going, okay, no, I can do that. How can I do that? And self-talk, we all know, it's explaining what you already think in your head. So let's rewire that to help move you forward in your direction.
Definitely. And also to label it as well can take away a bit of the power from that word and what that word actually means, because it really is just a word. And a lot of the time it's your brain that has created the meaning of, say, for example, I'm fat. That could be something that you say. But if you actually reverse engineer it or really break down what that word means, like you said, everything is progressive, everything's a journey. So you don't have to be fixed in this fat mentality forever. You can get past that point. So again, it's all back to how powerful the mind is, and almost what I'm hearing from you is how powerful it is to really reflect on your own processes, really learn yourself. And like you said, have the right people around you who could potentially even challenge that as well. Because if you are to say, I'm fat, and then someone goes, yeah, you are. It's that's reaffirming that identity that I'm fat. But if someone says, oh, well, you've had a tough time recently. I've noticed you've been eating not as well. But that doesn't mean you always have to be that way. You can evolve, you can change. And obviously that can potentially give you the opportunity to then take a different path. Because everything is evolving, everything's changing. You don't have to be fixed.
Yeah. And I think sometimes, let's just say that if someone said to you that you're fat, like someone said that to me before, I'm like, oh, and I get charged about it, I'm angry. Well, it's already something that within myself that I don't like. So I think that's a really good way to have a self-cue, whether if you want to improve on something and you don't know what it is that you want to improve, look at what makes you pissed when people say things about you.
That's powerful. That's a really good way of thinking about it. It's what actually triggers my emotion. It's and then look deeply into that, dive into that.
Yeah.
Well, we've covered off on a lot and we're past the 30 minutes already. So yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's so much we could probably sit here for 4 hours and keep talking, but we'll have to just get you back on the podcast. But we love actionable content, so we definitely got quite a bit of it. But potentially anyone out there that is maybe in a situation with their fitness or with their health and their diet where they want to change, and not even necessarily drastically, but they want to make a difference. Is there one or two main tips that you would want to shake them and tell them exactly what that would be? Or
Yeah. Like there's so much that we could all implement, right? We could implement, but it's up to you as an individual. The main thing, like I really love the trigger, what I just told you. If something's triggering you, then it means that you're actually not comfortable within yourself. So maybe a self-reflection on what that is, and then looking at where you want to go with that, and then dissecting how can you get there? What steps does that, whatever it is that you want to be, what do they do? What does their life display? And research it, get right into it, because then it may not be what you actually want. Like a couple of people say to me, I want to be a marathon runner. And when we get down and we realize what they have to do throughout the week, they're like, oh God, no way. So I think sometimes we put these fantasies out of what we want to be. So have a look at these things that you may want to do, dissect it, and then work out how can you make small changes that are something that you can, do every day within your lifestyle that you're doing. Like you're probably working, you probably maybe have kids, who knows? Like, are you able to maintain that through what you're doing right now? I think once you've worked that out, then you're on a good way forward.
Baby steps. Love it. Well, thank you very much for sharing your story. We're looking forward to continuing to watch your journey, and thanks for getting made it with us.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you.